recoil on this thing's rough.
Alrighty guys, welcome back to our 300 PRC full custom carbon fiber project. This is part 3. Now I've changed up the format just a little bit. Initially it was going to be a 3-part video series, but good news, it's now going to be a 4-part series. I just realized there was too much work to do with regards to tweaking the load and all those kind of things, and all the things I wanted to show you as to how I actually refined this process to get to a load that absolutely laser beams. This rifle is going to be phenomenal. Now, I've done 3 range sessions. Our first range session, we shot the loads that we did in episode 2, so those initial loads. We find something there that kind of works. Before we get to the results, I'm going to give you guys a quick montage of us shooting this, and then we're going to discuss those in a little bit more detail.
First round.
Now, as you can see by my target, I don't know if this will translate, but this entire target is full of mud. So we started things off 79 grains, 79.5, and we went up in 0.5 increments. And you can kind of see that was our first group we basically ever shot out this rifle after having sort of bore sighted it over there and then zeroed on this little dot. So first group over there, then 4 in a hole with 1 out. That was possibly me, if I do remember correctly. I had not put the suppressor cover back where it was. Also, we have to circle back to the suppressor towards the end of this video. Then I shot another group, 80 grains again, 3 in, 2 out, then 80.5 grains, relax. Jeez, the suppressor just doesn't work. 80.5, then 81, and then 81.5. And again, remember I said in the beginning of the series, if we can get under a half a MOA for a hunting rifle at basically 110 yards, so it's probably less than half a MOA technically speaking, because a MOA at 100 yards, that's kind of gold standard. But in South Africa, as you guys know, we work in meters, so we zero at 100 meters. So I basically took this information, I was like, okay, cool. I kind of see that looks really good, that looks really good, and then that looks really good. So if I find something in the middle of those, it gives me a little bit of margin for error. So I went back to the reloading bench and then loaded up 4 more groups. I did 79.7, 79.9, 80.1 and 80.3, and here is how that shooting sequence went. If we look at our results here, immediately 79.7 looks kind of good, 79.9 looks really good. Our speed here, by the way, too. And if you guys like this target, I have refined this down even further, which I'll show you just now. These are available for download on our website. I'll do my best to leave a link down below, but it's a free resource that we put on our website. So also in the beginning, when we looked at our components that we were using, we kind of estimated that we'd be close to the 2,950 feet per second mark. If we could get these 205 grain elite burgers to that speed, we would consider that a win. Then we went 80.1 grains, and then lastly 80.3 grains, and our speed at 80.3 grains was 2,938.2 feet per second with an 11.5 standard deviation. And across all of these, our first group was an 8.2 standard deviation, 4.1, 2.8, and then 11.5. Excuse me, that's just a solid 11. The S is not a 5, it's an S for SD. Now, during this process, I did use the Garmin chronograph. Let me know if you guys want a review on this unit. There obviously are a bunch of reviews on this. It's pretty freaking good. We do carry them in stock at our store to Impact Pro Shop. Now, so 18.3 looked pretty freaking promising, but sometimes what I like to do, remember statistically there's dispersion when you're doing any form of shooting. So it's not the case of just finding a load that works and then hoping that it always works. You kind of need to go and re-evaluate and test that load. So what I did for our next range trip was the following. First of all, you would have probably heard me complaining about the recoil of this rifle.
The recoil on this thing's rough.
Mother animal. It is super light. I haven't actually weighed it, but in its configuration with the carbon barrel, with the Hunting 26 and the magnesium combo, just everything, the LHT, the whole package is pretty light. Something that added a lot of weight is this Accutac Hydro bipod that I was using to do the low development. That thing is absolutely nuts. It is so stable, so I just use a much bigger bipod for low development than I would realistically use in the field. Obviously, nobody's hunting with one of those. Just because I want to eliminate variables, okay? So big bipod, more better. Okay, so something that you need to notice. On the front of this, all of a sudden, we have a warbird suppressor. And I basically, after the second range trip, I was like, I do not like the recoil profile that this suppressor produced. It was very much a sort of long push, to the point that after 2 range trip, my elbow was actually bleeding, okay, from the recoil back on the little concrete bench. So it was really terrible. So I swapped it out to a warbird, okay, with the muzzle brake front, and the difference on our next range trip was absolutely day and night. It still recoils a lot, but the recoil profile changed a lot due to the nature that that has a built-in muzzle brake. And basically what that muzzle brake is doing, it's changing that recoil profile into more of a sort of snappy recoil. Obviously it's going to be a little bit louder in practicality when you're out hunting without ear protection, because it is throwing some of that gas back towards you, but it is a game changer in terms of the shootability of this rifle. I was noticing during my first 2 range trips, especially with my elbow starting to bleed, it actually started going blue from my running on the bench, because our first range trip was, I think, 35 shots. The next one was another 20 shots, and I'm going boof, 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 back to back. So this like really sounds like complaining about trivial things, but it wasn't pleasant to shoot, and I like to have my rifles more pleasant to shoot. So again, that was an upgrade we made for our final range trip. Now, if you're doing low development the correct way, your rifle shouldn't be too sensitive to swapping out your muzzle device. Obviously, you're going to have a point of impact shift, which we observed dramatically due to the weight difference there is. So the shot, I was expecting the warbird to be a little bit lower, because it is, I think, slightly heavier than this sucker over here. And that is what we observed. So I quickly shot my first shot, noticed where it went, okay. This was again testing 80.3 grains of retumbo. And the first shot went, and I kept aiming at the same place, because obviously I wanted to test a group. And the real good thing here for us is this is a cold bore group. Okay, now I'm going to roll the footage of us shooting these basically 3 confirmation groups. And what you guys will notice throughout the shooting sequence is, obviously, our first few shots are off and bottom right. That is because changing the muzzle device out. But then I adjusted and I started shooting more groups towards our other 2 targets. Something to note, I was a little bit pushed for time on this last range trip. I did pretty much after the first group, I was like, yes, we're in the game here, because it is a hunting rifle, it is carbon fiber. If we can put 5 rounds, okay, into a little dot like that with a lightweight 300 PRC, I mean, that is so mission accomplished, it's a joke. I'm going to measure this group and I'll have the group size up. And then something to consider. Carbon fiber rifles are not meant to be shot a lot. I was pushed for time, so I was kind of shooting these next few groups a little bit quicker than I should. The rifle was still very, very warm. I was using my little trusty DIY barrel cool system that I have developed to try and clear some heat out of there, but it was the middle of the day. It was quite a warm day for us, and the next group was kind of there, and then we really rushed things and the next group opened up. But the fact that 80.3 still hammered on the very first group is confirmation enough for me that I wanted to test. So then I basically, on that last group, I zeroed it back over to the center of the sticker, and that brings us to the conclusion of this series. Now, in the first part of the series, I proposed that we take it out to 1,000 yards. We could still do that. Let me know in the comments down below if you guys want us to do that. But I'm thinking, boys, this is a hunting rifle. Why don't we take it hunting? So what I was thinking is, for part 4 of this series, I'm going to take this baboon hunting next week. And we're going to try and smash a baboon, even if we could just smash one. Because that's ultimately what this is designed for. We'll see how these 205 grains perform. I probably won't run the scope camera, but I'll try and set it up where we get the actual impact on target. Obviously, it's a live environment. But I think that's going to be the conclusion of our project, part 4, baboon hunting with the full custom 300 PRC. Let me know what you guys think about that. Chances by the time you let me know, I've already done it. So we'll see. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed part 3, sort of our load development process. Something to also mention is on these last few loads, our speed was pretty much on par. Okay, so across those last 3 groups, our average standard deviation across the 3 groups was 8.6, so under 10. Anytime you can have your standard deviation under 10, that basically translates to long-range success, because at 1,000 yards, if you have a muzzle deviation from shot to shot in excess of 10 feet per second, you're going to be missing high or low and chasing your tail. Okay, and our final speed average across those 3 groups was 2,935.9 feet per second. So super, super close to our estimated 2,950 speed that we hope to achieve when we started this process. So I ask you guys a question before I take this out baboon hunting. If you like this style of series, I've got 2 rifles behind me. My 4570 Government over there, okay, lever action build. And above me, I've got my brand new 223 trainer rifle. Which one of those would you want to see us do a series like this on next? I've already shot both of those rifles and done initial sort of testing, but I kind of want to make this a format on the channel where we deep dive into a build and I take it through the process. Let me know in the comments down below, 4570 or the 223 Remington trainer rifle. Both of those projects I'm gonna do. You get to decide which one we do first. With that said, I will see you guys in part 4, out in the hunting field, trying to get a baboon with this baby, and we're gonna film that next week. Now you might be asking, what jersey am I wearing? The Springbok rugby team are playing New Zealand, also known as the All Blacks, later today, so I'm about to crack open a few beers with my friends, braai some meat, some kudu steaks or something, and then we will watch the rugby game later today. It's going to be absolutely awesome. So yeah, with that said, go Bokke, which is our Afrikaans term of the day. If you don't know what rugby is, I suggest you type into YouTube the most feared rugby team in the world, the Springboks, and be educated. Okay guys, I'll see you in the next one. Thank you very much for watching. Hold thumbs that we get a baboon with this sucker next week. Bye.